Hi everyone, welcome to the webinar PPC Kickoff, Getting Started with Paid Search. Just so you know, this is being recorded, so you'll be able to download it later. I'm Danny Randa, and I'm the Marketing Coordinator here at Trada. I'm excited to see so many of you here. This is going to be a very basic webinar for people just getting started with paid search. If you're more advanced, though, it wouldn't hurt for you to stick around for a bit of a refresher. We do hold webinars at all levels, so keep an eye out for different webinars coming up. So we also encourage you all to tweet during the webinar. You can use the hashtag PPC Kickoff. And if you have any questions, please feel free to type them into the chat box at any time during the webinar. It is my pleasure to introduce my colleague Dan Tisser, who's going to be presenting today. He is an account manager here at Trada.
Great.
Dan is has been working in paid search for around 8 years. Has helped a lot of people get started with PPC. He's definitely a great resource for questions. So if you guys have questions, like I said, type them into the chat box. We'll get to them at the end of the presentation. Also, if you have any technical issues, please let us know, and someone from ReadyTalk will be there to help you. All right, so let's get started.
Great. Thanks, Danny. Appreciate it. Thanks, everyone, for coming. Like Danny said before, this is a basic introductory presentation that we're looking for to really help people understand how to really get started with pay-per-click. So we're going to be looking at an overview of some basic terms, basic architecture of what a campaign looks like, and the different parts of an ad, keywords, and ad groups, and just some other various parts. So jumping right in, we get this question all the time, really, what is pay-per-click advertising? So pay-per-click advertising in the context that we're talking today is all around text-based ads. These are always found on the search engine result page, and these are part of the paid part of a search engine result page. Specifically, we'll be talking about Google, Yahoo, and Bing today. Just to be clear, moving into really where these ads are being displayed, it's all in these red boxes. So this is a search engine result page. After you type something into a search engine, you will get displayed this page here. And we're going to be focusing on the red parts of that search engine result page. So just to even be a little more clear here, pay-per-click advertising, which is the PPC acronym, and then SEO, which is search engine optimization. And we'll be diving into that a little bit further in just a few minutes. So basically what we're talking about here is when someone actually types something into a search engine, these are the ads that we are actually going to be seeing. So when you enter in a keyword, ads are displayed according to what is actually put into the search engine and what people use to go build those campaigns. So really getting a feel for the different media outlets that are out there. You can see that Google, of course, which the majority of the people in the world on the internet will use, about 65% of traffic. What's interesting is that Yahoo and Bing are continuing to gain market share. If anything, they might be eroding away at Google a little bit, then also from the smaller second-tier search engines there. That's a helpful pie chart to really understand that broadcasting your message on Yahoo, Bing, and Google hits the majority of search engine users. So as I mentioned before, we're going to be running through a little bit of vocabulary here. So SEO acronym that you'll constantly hear a lot of three-letter acronyms in this world stands for search engine optimization. This is really what we call organic ranking, that you can start to get search engine results and higher ranking by optimizing your website to make sure that the search engines are indexing your website correctly and that information is being viewed, and then they reward you by raising your rank. Pertaining to cost per click terminology here, impressions is literally just the viewing of your ad across a search engine result page. The click is the actual click-through when someone actually clicks on your ad. So an impression is the view, the click is actually someone clicking on the ad and getting sent to your website. Something that we often talk a lot about here also is conversions as well. This is when you get someone that reaches your website and they do the desired behavior. If you're selling products or goods, it's a purchase. If you're doing lead generation or people interested in your business or services offered that they're filling out a form, it can even be things like downloads as well. It's really what you want people to do when they reach your website. And then understanding a key metric that we'll go into a little bit deeper here is also click-through rate, and it's just simply the impressions divided by the number of clicks. And it's a really good gauge to understand how relevant your ads are, how much people are typing into the search engine, clicking on your ad, and to really understand that stat is a key performance indicator of how well your ads are written, how well the keywords are being developed. One thing also that we're going to be talking about here is the cost per click. So we do actually have to pay these search engines every time someone clicks on your ad, and that's where they generate the revenue on that. And we'll be going deeper into that as well. So we get this question a lot, whether it's at trade shows or just people that I talk to professionally. They say, why should I really be doing pay-per-click advertising? Well, first of all, the neat thing here is that we actually have an engaged audience. We have people that are typing things into a search engine, looking to find information, which sounds a little bit of a no-brainer, but when you think about it, other types of media, whether it's a television commercial or a billboard, is that you're normally engaged with people in a passive audience. They're driving, they're watching a television program, they're not actively seeking the services or goods that are being offered by the advertiser. Relatively speaking, also pay-per-click advertising is very quick and easy. You can have a campaign up in a matter of minutes if you know what you're doing. And also a really neat thing also about pay-per-click is that you can track your ROI on your advertising spend. When you take that into that same traditional media wrapper that I was giving before about billboards and television advertising, you're not necessarily going to be able to directly correlate an advertising campaign that's going to directly result in what people are doing if they are buying your product or enlisting your help with services. Whereas pay-per-click advertising, you can see that someone clicked on a particular keyword and resulted in a conversion that we talked about earlier. So you can actually track down to a specific keyword what the ROI is, and you can track what your return on investment is on an entire advertising campaign. Also, you can capture valuable information about what people are doing when they reach the website. Are they immediately leaving? Are they converting? Are they just viewing certain pages? You can go so far as to track what time of day they're doing it, from what IP address, and even all the way down to what part of the world that they're doing it from. A common metric that is often used, especially inside of Google and starting now with Yahoo and Bing inside their keyword buying interfaces, is quality score. So quality score is really the search engines doing their due diligence to make sure that relevant information is being displayed and that people are finding that the keywords are matching what they're typing into the search engine, that the keywords are matching the ads that are being written, and then more importantly also that the landing pages where they're actually going onto the website is highly relevant to all those matters as well. Based on that, the search engines will give you cheaper cost per click, higher ad ranking, and show your ads more often. So quality score is a relevancy measure that's used by search engines. It's a highly complex topic, and it's actually something that we're going to be holding a webinar next Wednesday about really how it works in the nuts and bolts of it. It's a highly scrutinized and important stat that everyone should learn about, and if you're looking to take that next step of really understanding how pay-per-click advertising works, I highly recommend going to this webinar. And there's actually the beautiful slide that we have for it next Wednesday. I love it. It looks great. It's a quality person reaching a high quality score. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is really how to use pay-per-click advertising. So as we talked about before, those keywords and how important they really are to get an idea of where to start with an advertising campaign. So a keyword list is literally just a list of keywords of how people might actually type into the search engine for defining your service or product. If it's your business or if you're doing it for a client, and if you're subject matter expertise, coming up with the top of mind keywords and really understanding, where to be relative to what your customers are looking for, and getting a little bit of a snapshot into consumer behavior, what people might be looking at, is a great place to start for your basic keywords. It's really helpful also just to really think about the variations and ask your customers, how would they find your website looking online? Ask friends, ask anyone that spends any amount of time on the internet, and how they might possibly go and look for your services or products or goods. Also, there's a lot of helpful tools out there. If I had to endorse one particular product, Google's keyword buying interface is called AdWords. And inside of AdWords, they have some very robust tools to help you identify what might be keywords that you wouldn't initially think of that are related to your search, and what your competition is doing, how much things are costing on a cost per click basis. Really some good, fantastic tools out there. If you pay a little bit of money, you can also subscribe to a number of different tools out there. And I think we even did a blog post on some of the great tools out there, so you can find that on our website also. So one thing that, getting a little bit into the weeds here of how cost per click advertising works and how you can display your keywords, there's different match types. The match types really help explain, really how someone's going to look for the particular keywords and how they're going to find your website. So starting with broad match, very loose interpretations in here. That means that any keywords in front or behind it, or including your particular keywords, are going to be included in a broad match term. It tends to get a lot of generalized traffic, not necessarily traffic's going to convert, but you can get more specific. Moving on to phrase match, it means that that particular keyword has to be included into a search query. So the actual keywords that get written into the search bar need to be included into a phrase match as well. And then if you want to exclude all other keywords and only have traffic be sent when someone clicks directly, actually types in directly what you put in as a keyword, you can also then match that into the exact level as well. If you want to learn more about match types, I know we have a ton of resources on our website about the different match types, and just the blogosphere out there and just the internet in general has a great amount of information on different match types. So really where the rubber meets the road as far as where keywords start to join up with the actual ads and the landing pages are going to lives at the ad level. So pay-per-click advertising ads are highly controlled, very closely regulated by what you're allowed to write. Even excessive use of punctuation, superlatives, caps are all part of the editorial guidelines that come forth from all the different search engines. But to really break down the anatomy of what an ad is that the headline can only have 25 characters. And that the body copy, including spaces, and that goes for the headline as well, can only include 70 characters. And then you also then have the ability to use a display URL, which is not necessarily the direct URL that's going to click through to a particular search engine, but on the backside of these ads, all of them will have destination URLs for where you actually want the traffic to go. So basically what you're looking at here is that there's a lot of small areas. I wouldn't say a lot, but it's more of that there's only a roughly 105 characters that you really have to work with that you need to be very specific with when writing your ads. So things to keep in mind is that you definitely want to be creative, thoughtful. You want to differentiate yourself from your competition. There's things that you do differently that your competition doesn't do. Often things that we hear are deep discounts, free shipping, fast support, US-based support, that there's someone there to always pick up the phone if you have any questions or concerns. Anything that you can really use to set yourself apart from the competition. And really what you want them to do is that you want to sum up every ad with a call to action, whether it be come see us today, or buy now, or shop now, or compare prices. Those are all things to do. So you want to get a little bit of a description in there and a call to action that is really what you're trying to do. That should really be focused around your conversion metrics. So if it is a sale, you could say those shop now or buy now prices. If it's a lead generation, a form fill out, people want to learn more about your services, that you can say, come visit us on our website, and then get the form filled out and someone will be contacting you today. And then really instead of thinking of how to really go about doing this, is that you constantly want to be working through your ad copy, testing different messages. There's different promotions that you're rotating through in your business that you want to make sure that you hit all of those, and that you go test and see what really is going to resonate with what people are typing into the search engines. So one thing I touched on earlier is really the ad group, and this is where everything comes together. This is where the keywords will live under the ads and where the traffic goes. You want to organize those ads and keywords to create the best possible relevancy among all those, and then send them to a website on part of your website that is the most relevant to the keywords, to the ads, and that's really where you start to optimize for that quality score. So jumping into after the keywords are created, the ads are created, is really where you're going to be sending that traffic, and those are called landing pages. So when a user clicks on your ad, you're going to actually be able to control where that advertising goes. Unlike organic search, where things will come up, you not necessarily have really all that much control as to where that traffic is going to be going to. Pay-per-click advertising, you can be very specific of where you want your ads to go. So if you have a red football and you create keywords around that particular red football, that you want to make sure that those ads and landing pages are going to be pointing to your red football page and where you can get those specific products in there. Whereas that organic search, you necessarily don't have that control. So what really makes up one of those good landing pages? Just how you have a call to action in your ad copy, you want to make it easy for people to do what you want them to do on your website, whether it's be a purchase, having a real clear shopping engine and funnel for creating those ads. If you want to do the form fill out, then it's more of a thing that you want to make sure that you're capturing only the information that you need to have your company follow up with the particular potential customers that are coming through the website. You want to make sure that you really answer all the questions that the search engine is providing for you, and that that you have sizes, dimensions, specs, price, of course, and then also other related goods that you might be offering. And then you want to keep everything above the fold, meaning that all that information is viewable within one screen, and that you're easily giving all the information that they need with all the next actions in place for them to do. And then, of course, generating valuable, unique content. You have testimonials, users' reviews that are unique to your product or to your website, to your business. Make sure you highlight those, especially if you have a good story to tell. That's all unique content that the search engines tend to rate very favorably. So really the last part here is that now that you have your keywords built, your ads built, your landing page is determined, the website looks good, is really what you do next. The majority of the time that people will tend to do is that they'll start to build a campaign and then let it stagnate. Not necessarily a good thing. So the campaign, the market is always changing, that there's always going to be things that you need to be changing with your campaign to ensure that you are getting the most bang for your buck and that you're getting that ROI, and that you will start to see valuable returns on that. Is that you need to be refreshing in there. You got to make sure that there's not anyone in there that's buying the same keywords that you are, bidding more dollars against it, and beating you out there. So to help really stay on top of that, you need to be in there constantly refreshing. You might also be spending way too much for your pricing as well. That you want to make sure that you're spending these numbers effectively. If you're getting a lot of keywords that are sending a tremendous amount of traffic but not resulting in sales or conversions, you want to make sure you start to pull those keywords down or start thinking about them differently. Or is it sending the wrong message? Those types of things are all things that you need to stay on top of to make sure you're managing your campaign efficiently. And really, you're never done testing. It's something that you always constantly have to stay on top of. And it's a common question that we get at trade shows and in the professional world is that, really how much time, do they need to be spending in it? It, of course, always depends. So there's always something that you can certainly test too much to the point where the information starts to get diluted, but you really need to stay on top of it. And it's a constant effort to stay on top of your paid search marketing effort. So really, what's next here? So obviously, we work inside our company and within the world of pay-per-click, and we'll talk a little bit about what we offer. But also, if you do want to learn more and want to take the next step as far as information about it, I highly encourage you to come check out our resource page here, where we have previous webinars that are recorded, just like this one's being, guides, blog posts, videos, and resources as well. And then, of course, I want to explain to you a little bit about what we do here. So Trada is a very unique way to actually do your pay-per-click advertising. We have a crowd of paid search experts that we are certified by us, that we check all their resumes, and a community of people that want to come work for you. So you can have multiple people working on your campaign that get to leverage the different ideas about how they think about how paid search works and how someone might find your product or service. You get the diversity of how people are thinking about that, and then they are constantly in there trying to make money and also drive relevant traffic to your website there. So there's incentive for them to go in there and do that work, and then also we have the ability to display on multiple ad networks. As it sits right now, we do Google, Yahoo, and Bing, which covers the majority of the search engine users. And the nice thing is that you already know they already know how to run pay-per-click campaigns. So this learning curve that we talk about in this optimization, you get to leverage your subject matter expertise while leveraging the power of the community and what they know about pay-per-click advertising. So the way that our model works is pay-per-performance only. There are no setup fees, no startup fees, no management fees that you might find at an agency, and you get started right away. So I know that we blazed through a lot of content very quickly. We set aside a designated amount of time to work through different questions that might be having. I know that our team that is offline right now is going to be capturing these questions, and I believe Danny's going to be sending some questions my way that are coming up from the listeners.
Yeah, and thank you guys. There's a lot of great questions here. We're going to start out with Eric, who wanted Dan to talk a little bit about negative keywords.
Yeah, that's a great thing. That's one thing that we when we created this webinar is whether to touch on negative keywords or not. So negative keywords are specific keywords that you do not want people to come through and find your website. So the example I always use for the negative keywords is that if you're selling Honda Civic floor mats, is that you definitely don't want people looking for insurance for their Honda Civic. So insurance could be a good broad match negative keyword there. So it helps narrow the focus on that to make sure that you get the most relevant traffic. It's always something, if you know what the negatives are going into building a campaign, it's great to have them in place, but it's definitely a good second, third round optimization technique. When you start to actually look into like search query reports to actually see what people are typing into the search engine and then what kind of information that they're getting back. So if you're starting to see negative keyword or irrelevant search traffic that is related to your product, a good opportunity to go is use negative keywords. Great question.
Sarah wants to know how she can find long tail keywords.
Perfect. So yeah, long tail keywords is really where you start to do on like in a second and third round optimization. So thinking about really how the first time around, how people might think about your product, that initial kind of consumer behavior idea where you start to get the highly relevant, the top of mind keywords. Another great place is looking at those search query reports to look for what else people are typing into it. Long tail keywords can be permutations built on that. So if I was using that red football example again, that an example, so that would be an example of a head to tail keyword. The other side of the long tail keyword would be red football made by a particular brand, or a size, or age recommendations, or ships quickly, things like that. So you can take not only just product attributes, but then also the call to action sort of thing that delivered to home, things like that. That's a good way to go after the long tail keywords. The reason why long-tail keywords is something that we bring up often, that you'll often see in our other resources, and I think we have done webinars specifically around going after long-tail keywords, is that you tend to get a lot more relevant search traffic that tends to be a little bit cheaper at a lower volume, but those long-tail keywords tend to convert better, and they're all part of building a well-diversified, well-built paid search campaign.
Great. Carlos wants to know what the best way to set cost per click at the beginning, and then how do you change it over time?
Yeah, great question. A question that we get often as well. So the way that the search engines will look at keywords and keyword pricing is that they're all individually priced. They're scored against those quality scores initially set. Within those free tools inside of AdWords, and then also the ones that are subscription-based as well, is that you can go do what we call keyword research, that you can take those top-of-mind keywords, see what the cost per click is coming in at, to set like a real general baseline to get a feel for whether you're spending $1 to $2 a click or $15 a click. It's a good, first of all, indicator of what the competitive landscape is for that particular arena. Some of the most expensive keywords out there for like a lot of litigation things out there, so like wrongful death lawsuit, DUI-based keywords, attorneys looking for clients that have gotten a DUI. Those can be $20, $30 a click. That's an example of, because those particular cases can result in thousands of dollars, if not millions, in wrongful death, for example, payouts to the particular law firm. So that competitive nature of that has driven up the cost of that as well. So to get back to the question, so to understand that you do want to establish that baseline, get a feel for what things are going to cost initially. Once that keyword pricing is set, what you can do is go back and take a look at, well, first of all, how high of a position am I getting? How relevant is the traffic is coming in? Does it make sense to bring down the bid price relative to what the actual cost per clicks are coming in at, and see if it needs to make adjustments? If there's any one thing that gets adjusted the most, especially within the first week or two of a campaign, running is definitely those click prices and where those bids are being adjusted at.
Great. We got a good question here from Shannon, who wants to know what a good click-through rate would be.
Great question. It's tough to really make generalizations on that. If you're below, typically, if I had to say a number out there, if you're below 1%, you're definitely probably getting some irrelevant impressions there. Anything that is typically above 1% is headed in the right direction. Really the next step around click-through rate is to really understand conversion rate. So there's definitely the understanding how many impressions versus clicks results in someone visiting the page, but how many of those clicks are going to result in a good conversion as well. So understanding what click-through rate is doing above 1% is a good place to start. If you're in the e-commerce world where you're actually selling a product or service online where there's an actual transaction taking place, somewhere above 2% is where you really need to be to start to get effective ROI, and that's what we set as a benchmark for our e-commerce clients that require a transaction as well. So understanding a good click-through rate, about 1% or above, anything above that is considered to be fairly good. Of course, that making sure that the traffic is relevant, that those clicks are resulting in sales. It's one thing to have good click-through rate, but if you don't also have a corresponding good conversion rate, it could take some deeper look to take investigating into your paid search efforts and see if it makes sense to do some more optimization.
Great. So Dave has another question about keywords. He wants to know, is there an optimum number of keywords per campaign? And on that also, could you talk about the optimum number of keywords per ad group as well?
Sure. So yeah, two questions there. So understanding the number of keywords, it's hard to say. If you're an e-commerce website that offers 3,000 different products online, it probably makes sense to describe each product at least 5 or 6 different times. And it also really depends on the product. If there's several ways that people might actually go find that, or if it's highly specific, it might make sense to only have 1 or 2. So it's really a tough question to answer. It really depends on what you do. That being said, if you are, for example, a landscaping company and all you want people to do is fill out a form for a contact us, it might make sense to only run a couple hundred keywords. So it can range from a couple hundred to thousands upon thousands. I mean, we've seen e-commerce campaigns come through that have over 80,000 keywords in it just by the very nature of who they are, what they do, and then also that they need to cover all the bases for all the products that they offer, whether they run or not. The second question there, number of keywords per ad group. General rule that I tell people when I'm training people on how paid search works is that you probably want to stay below 30 keywords per ad group, that you're utilizing different match types in there, that you're utilizing different ads within that ad group there. But as a general rule, to stay at around 30 keywords per ad group is a great place to start. That way you ensure that the keywords are matching the ads correctly, that you're not getting off topic with your keywords, and that you can send it to a specific landing page. Once again, optimizing for click-through rate, good quality score, that the whole overall user experience and the people that are clicking on your campaign are provided the best information possible.
Great. Mike and Selena both had a question about Trada, actually. And they want you to talk a little bit about how Trada charges fees and how you pay the PPC experts.
Sure. So yeah, without getting too far into the weeds there, first of all, you can always contact someone on our website, and we'd be more than happy to walk you through in the more in depth of what that means. So the way that we actually do charge is that we keep advertisers' credit cards on file there. That once again, that there are no setup fees. There's no management fees that are put in place there. When a campaign starts, we charge 25% of the monthly budget that's set up prior to going live. And then we will continually charge, never exceeding the monthly budget, and we do manage to those monthly numbers. The way that our experts get paid is that when you set forth a bid price, and I'll use an example, if you set a flat rate of a $1 bid price, you are going to be paying as an advertiser $1 per click. What the optimizers are incented to do is go find things like those long-tail keywords that are cheaper keywords. They'll try to go buy things, for example, if we're setting a bid price of $1, that the optimizers will go out there, buy the click at 90 cents. They will split that 10 cents with Trada as well as with the advertiser. I'm sorry, with the optimizer, those paid search experts working on your campaign. And they will take the difference as well. So they're incented to go out there, find the cheapest keywords possible, the ones that are sending traffic, and then to get those clicks coming through. So there's a huge incentive for the people working on your campaigns to go after long-tail keywords, highly relevant, that send traffic, that send also conversions as well. But that's how we do pay them. It's on a per-click basis.
Great. So back to ad groups. Laura just was hoping you could talk a little bit more about ad groups.
Sure. So ad groups is really the relevancy of, so the ad groups is really, so to take it from the definition, it's where the keywords are relating to the ads and where those ads are pointing onto your website. So it's the little cluster of those particular keywords, set individual bid prices at the keyword level, and then you want to make sure that the keywords are relating to the ads and that the ads are pointing to the particular website here. This is also where all the relevancy is going to be measured by the search engines, that you're going to want to ensure that the keywords are making sense. So using that red football example, that the ad would read something like, shop today for red footballs made by this manufacturer, great prices, fast shipping. You want to make sure that you're including all your red football keyword permutations. You definitely have those head of tail keywords like red football, but then you can also go into those long tail keywords like red football by Spalding, red football for ages 8 through 10, all the different specifications of that particular red football there. And then you want to make sure that ad group, those keywords and ads, are pointing to your red football landing page there, that people can go out there and find those particular information there. So that's the ad grouping is where we're talking about having around 30 keywords per ad group that we're writing, making sure that the relevancy between the keywords and the ads is highly relevant, and making sure that those keywords and ads are pointing to, of course, then that relevant landing page that has the product, and that's really the ad group.
Great. And also, just to add, if you guys want to go a little deeper into ad groups, we have a webinar from a few weeks back and a best practice brief that really does a good job outlining in depth how to work ad groups.
Right.
Okay, so a few more here. This one's from Tom, and he wants to know what the typical range of quality scores are in a good account.
Sure. So yeah, that's one thing that we didn't really get all that deep on. So the quality score rating is on a scale of 1 to 10, and it's something that initially started through with Google, Yahoo, and Bing are also starting to adopt a similar program of a 1 through 10 scale. What happens so the 1 through 10, 10 being the best, most highly relevant, 1 being the worst, the least relevant, that you'll typically see a campaign that considered to be a good quality score is typically 6 and above. It's interesting, we'll see distribution among campaigns in the 7 to 10 range for something that is highly relevant, but look for 7s through 10s as well. Oftentimes the distribution will come out, we'll see a lot of 7s, a lot of 10s, a few 8 and 9s as well. So knowing that, you can actually go look at each individual keyword quality score. You can see which ones are your most highly relevant keywords, and best understand, like, okay, is the search engine indexing my website correctly? Is it a particularly well-written ad? Is it something where people are going through and finding what they're looking for with those highly relevant keywords?
Great. So Brad and Deepti want to know, in an ad group, is it better to mix and match types of keywords, or can they be separate?
As far as match types go, I presume?
Yeah, match types of keywords.
Oh, sure. So the different match types, yeah, it depends is the short answer. You definitely don't want to go do things like, I like to personally, when I go out in there and build ad groups, is that I'll use phrase broad and exact match for the same keywords within an ad group. It's a good technique to really figure out what's going on there. If you're finding keywords that are getting a lot of clicks in the broad match, but not that many conversions, and it's extremely expensive, it might make sense to take that keyword from broad match to phrase or exact match as well. But running multiple match types in an ad group, I think, is a very good idea.
Great. So this one's from Brendan, and he wants to know, can you talk a little bit about tracking phone calls as a conversion action?
Sure, absolutely. So there's definitely software packages out there that allow you to do call tracking. In a basic pay-per-click advertising campaign, what I often tell people that are looking to get a campaign started where they have a business that is highly related to particular ad groups, and if they want to really track ROI to how many times the phone rings, I'll often tell advertisers on the basic level that you should have a page that's designated for pay-per-click advertising that has a unique 1-800 number on it, or a unique phone number that they can track, saying that how many times that phone rings is your leads coming in, and then they can best understand how many of those leads result in actual business as well. Going into the deeper level, there's certainly like analytics packages like Omniture, the one that I'm most familiar with, where I've ran campaigns where we can dynamically insert phone numbers into landing pages that result to a particular ad group or particular ad as well. Very robust packages. Typically, it requires a fairly high-level degree of programming to actually go out there and execute on those as well. But if you do also have, if you from a basic level, if you just want to keep a unique 1-800 number on your website, that if it's only traffic that can be reached by your paid search advertising as well, allows you to track it on a simple level, what's happening when you're in a phone-based business.
Great. Well, we're getting some great questions here, but we want to not take up too much of your time, so we're just going to take a couple more. This is from Chris, Does the Trada solution enable users to set specific goals and customizable alerts to keep user aware of progress and results? If so, could you just provide a brief summary?
Yeah, absolutely. So everything is goal-based. So before a campaign will launch inside of our system and go out into the search engines, and then also to this community of paid search experts that we call those optimizers, there are thresholds in place there along bid price, what's the most that you want to pay per click, then also metrics around what's your cost per acquisition goal. We also do have filters in place as well, saying that if a keyword has spent X amount of dollars, that we will turn it off as well. So there's some filters in place there as well. And one interesting thing that I really like about our system is that we want to have engaged advertisers, that it's not simply a set it and forget it type of experience when people come to work inside of Trada, that we want advertisers involved with the people that are working on their campaign, that we do have a messaging platform as well. Some of the things that come through on an automated level is that we do have things what we call like keyword alerts, that keywords are hitting certain click thresholds, that they want to have these keywords reviewed by the person that is running the campaign on the advertiser side to ensure that the keywords are highly relevant. Even before an ad goes live that is written by the optimizers, those paid search experts, it needs your approval as well. And it's also something that we ensure that, first of all, that we're understanding your business correctly, that you are also starting to engage with the people that are working on your website and on your paid search campaign, and that we want to have those people that know the space well but don't necessarily know how to do pay-per-click advertising engage as much as possible and help direct and leverage everything that they can from all the people working on the campaign.
Great. And last question here is from Fabio. Should you do a PPC campaign first and then use insights to optimize your site?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that real quick?
Yeah, he wants to know if you should start with the PPC campaign and then use those insights to optimize your site.
Boy, it's funny you say that. We've actually, we had a blog post back and forth between me and Neil Robertson, our CEO, about what is the proper order to do that. I mean, it's definitely going into a little bit of the gray area of how to do paid search advertising. My own philosophy that it goes against our CEO, and this hopefully isn't a career-limiting event for me, is that what I really like to have is a website that is working well organically, that is highly defined and very clear for people to understand what's going on with your website before you spend any money on advertising dollars. The reason why I say that is what will happen is that you can start to occupy a space organically as well as in the paid search advertisements as well. So knowing your core business, knowing that the website demonstrates that very well, that the search engines are also understanding your website organically, and then to start advertising as well is a good place to start. The flip side to that, and Neil's school of thought on this, for example, is that if you do paid search advertising, you can start to call out the keywords that people are finding what they're looking for from either a conversion standpoint or a good click-through rate. And then taking those keywords, you can go develop content around those particular things. And it's a nice tool if you're trying to also flush out how people are working about that. So the short answer, it depends. You can do it either way. Both have their advantages and disadvantages as well. Trying to get a website to work organically and making sure that it's coming up under organic ranking and on a search engine result page can be extremely time-consuming. Depending on your level of expertise, can be very expensive to have someone go do that as well. If you do have a new website, it might make sense to go out there and start doing paid search advertising. But yeah, it's an interesting question, and I think we had like blog posts back in February around that as well. You can certainly drop Danny a line on that, and I can make sure I get you those links. But great question.
Great. Well, thanks, Dan, and thank you, everyone, for all the questions. This was we had a lot of great ones. If we missed one of your questions, we're sorry, but please feel free to email me at dranda@trada.com, and we'll make sure to connect you with the right person. And those questions can be about paid search, PPC, or they could be about Trada, anything, and we'll make sure to get back to you. We love to continue the conversation. So yeah, thanks again for everyone who showed up, and we will be sending you slides and the recording, and also a best practices guide for starting out a PPC campaign. But yeah, thanks again, and this is now the end of the webinar.